I'll give this a shot. The iPhone 8 Plus, the home button, the perfected design, the final survival. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Shamar Crossfield here, and in this video we'll be looking at the iPhone 8 Plus and how it stacks up in 2020. So without further ado, let's get into it. The iPhone 8 Plus was released back in 2017, and since then it has become one of the most used iPhones and one of the most budget friendly iPhones to get right now. But does it stack up well even in 2020? Well, to assess that, let's look at three main features of the phone: battery, software, and the camera. So right away, the battery life on this phone is great. This non-removable 2691 milliamp hour battery can give you a good amount of battery life to last you throughout the day. And especially since that iOS 13 update, which introduced the optimized battery charging, it can last you throughout the day. But personally, I've never really gotten a whole day's usage out of it because I'm a bit of a power user and I use my phone a lot, which I'm trying to cut back on. But yeah, that's for me. And if you're a power user, don't expect to get an all-day usage out of the phone. But if you're a light user, it can very well last you throughout the day. If you may need to charge it one time, like literally only once again throughout the day, and then you're good to go. So it's like it can last you like basically half a day. And yeah, it has a really good battery life. And it's also capable of fast charging at 15 watts. And since it's an iPhone, the battery health is viewable from the system settings. So when I first got this phone, it was at 94% of battery health. And then over the 7 months of me using the phone, it's now only at 91% battery health. And it's been at 91% for months now. Like, I've changed my charging habits, so I stopped plugging them in overnight. That really does, there's this thing called trickle charging, and that really does take a toll on your battery in the long term, so I've stopped doing that. And I also just try to stop using my phone while it's being charged, and these things really do help your battery life. And yeah, if you keep following those tips that I just gave you, then your battery life on your iPhone 8 Plus will last you for as long as you want. The battery health will be a-okay. So next is the software. The iPhone 8 Plus came out running iOS 11 back in 2017, and it's currently running iOS 13. It's also slated to get iOS 14 and should get iOS 15, but I wouldn't bet all my money on that, seeing that it's an home button phone and Apple is kind of moving towards a bezel-less future already, and that might follow suit with the updates to come. So it's not a guarantee that it will get iOS 15, however it's projected to if Apple follows the trends of its other iPhones. And a part of talking about the software of the phone is mentioning just how speedy and responsive this phone really is. So just to mention the hardware a little bit. The iPhone 8 Plus is packing the Apple A11 Bionic chipset and is running on a hexa-core CPU. What this basically means is that the phone is fast. It's smooth in opening apps, it's responsive to touch, it's good when playing games. Switching between apps is a breeze, and unlocking the phone, unlocking the phone, really, the phone is a really smart, a really intuitive and responsive phone. And yeah, the iPhone 8 Plus has not deteriorated in the speed department. So that's all for the software. And for the third feature, the camera. Let me just say, this camera is no doubt still a great camera in 2020. It's packing a 12 megapixel dual camera setup with 12 megapixel on the primary sensor at f1.8 aperture and 12 megapixel on the telephoto camera at f2.8 aperture. This telephoto lens allows for 2 times optical zoom as well as facilitate the portrait mode on the phone. And this rear camera is capable of recording 4K at 60 frames per second. 60 whole frames per second. And it has a single front-facing 7 megapixel camera that can record video of up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. Pictures turn out really good on this phone's camera, and even better with Apple's speedy processing of the images, which make them clear, colorful, accurate, and sharp. The telephoto lens is probably my favorite feature of the phone, just cause the lens is similar to a professional camera at that aperture, and that brings me to portrait mode. So portrait mode is really good on this phone, however, it does have its shortcomings. In darker environments it does not perform so well, and the noise is terrible when that happens. Terrible. But bring this phone out in the daylight and you'll see it show off its processing of images capabilities. The phone's portrait mode in adequate lighting environments is really good, and yeah, it's up there as one of the best portrait modes out here. So yeah, that's a really good feature of the iPhone's camera, and the video quality is also really good on this phone. In fact, the main portion or the A-roll of this video is already being shot on an iPhone 8 Plus right now, and actually all my previous videos on my channel, so make sure to check those out. Now, battery life, software, and the camera aren't all that this phone has to offer, but there are just some really standout features. Some other just as noteworthy features include, but are not limited to, the capacitive home button, which actually isn't a moving button, but because of the advanced vibration motors in iPhones, you won't even notice that it's not actually moving. Well, unless the phone is off, of course. There's fast touch ID that comes along with the capacitive home button, the glass sandwich design, which gives this phone a premium feel when compared to the other home button iPhones. It gets plenty bright when outdoors in solid environments, and it has True Tone, which adjusts the light using the iPhone's proximity sensor. It has a great LCD display and a pixel density of 401 pixels per inch. There's 3D touch, it's IP67 dust and water resistant. The speakers are loud and uses the speaker grill at the top and bottom of the phone, so it's a dual speaker system. It comes in 4 different colors: space gray, silver, gold, and red. And it's the last iPhone with a home button being sold by Apple. Well, for now. Making this phone the last survivor. So the question is it worth it? Well, of course it is. I mean, the phone is being sold by Apple. It's the final iPhone with a home button that's being sold by Apple, and it's great in 2020 despite having the home button and as such having a kind of dated design. Everything else about the phone is a plus, and it overshadows the home button design. There are just so many positives about getting this phone in 2020 that it's really hard to find a negative about this phone, and as such it's worth it. It's worth buying in 2020. So guys, this is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe, and if you haven't already, check out my iPhone 6s review in 2020 and my Pixel 2 XL review in 2020 and all the other videos on my channel. And thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.